monsters, madness, and magic.
All right, folks, welcome to the Monsters, Madness, and Magic podcast. I'm your host, Justin, here with a quick word before we dive in. Now, in this episode, I chat with actor and former radio personality Dana DeLorenzo about the importance of creativity, ghost stories, synchronicity, Ash vs. Evil Dead, and more. As always, thank you all for listening out there, and without further ado, here you go. Dana, take us back in time. You're a youngster. Are you a book reader, fort builder, troublemaker, or all of the above?
Definite book reader. Mm-hmm. Occasional fort maker whenever I was sleeping over a friend's house, because for some reason, I don't think my parents wanted forts in the house. Absolutely not a troublemaker. Total dork, straight A student, very strict parents, always home like 15 minutes before any curfew. Kind of dork kid. Yeah. But like I never even toilet papered a house. Like that's like I grew up in Ohio and that's like something you do, but especially you do it. I seem to remember that they would even do it for like the football players' houses on like a big game day. Why? Because I don't know. Because if I was a parent of like someone on the football team and then I had to clean that shit up, that'd piss me off. But
right.
I'll never know. I was always like, I went with friends during a sleepover in her neighborhood with like, I was on a basketball team in middle school. I was a starting point guard. So all the starters kind of hung out and, humble brag. And, her name, Christy Prokop, if you're watching, what's up? I think we were sleeping over her house and her mom was super cool and like, let us go out and like toilet paper her house. I think I put one ply of one square because I was even though they all were, I was so afraid that somehow my parents would find out. And this is before like the internet and cell phone. There was like no way that that's how afraid I was of making my parents mad. So yeah, avid book reader, huge Goosebumps book reader, huge like loved. I still remember the titles of like the ghost themed books I was reading from a very young age. So that kind of explains a lot.
Do you still read?
Yeah, I do. Not as much as I feel like I used to, especially when I lived in Chicago and could read on the train. But like because I'm reading scripts and reading dialogue, I think my eyes just get so tired, so I'm not reading like as avidly as I used to, which was every day, every night. But yeah, I still read. I don't read ghost stories so much anymore. Now it's mostly self-help books.
We all need a little self-help.
Oh man. Yeah, no, but I especially like if I go on vacation and my favorite thing to do one of them at least, but let's just say favorite. I love reading a book on a beach. Any beach, any book, but mostly like I like, I'm a big like mystery, like murder fan. I mean, who isn't? But I read a lot of Mary Higgins Clark, in my formative years, which was, she's like a prolific whodunit kind of writer. And yeah. Do you read?
Oh yeah, I mainly read a lot of fantasy, but of course, growing up, Hardy Boys, Goosebumps.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
I was Babysitter's Club, obviously, opposite the Hardy Boys. But yeah, I think it's great because you really can get lost in a book and in a way where wherever you are, you can get lost in it. And I have a question for you, but I want you to ask your questions. But I was going to ask if you don't mind.
What's the question?
Well, have you ever read a book before the movie? And then second part of the question, was there ever a movie that you thought was better than the book that you read? But I guess you have to answer the first part first.
I'll answer the second part first. No.
It never is. It never is. It's always better in our head, right?
And the first part was, have I ever read a book and then watched a movie, as in like close proximity?
Like read the book and then you watched, then like at some point in life, the movie came out based on the book.
I'm drawing a blank, but I'm sure probably yes because I read a
I'm
lot of
sure.
Stephen King because
Oh, then yeah,
all of his books definitely eventually get made. So yeah, probably. I'll say
yeah.
probably Pet Cemetery.
Pet Cemetery. That was a book.
Yeah,
How did I not know this?
but I
No.
will say that's actually
Oh
one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
good
No, no,
ones.
no. Wait, Stephen King. Sorry, I'm like thinking. Sorry, my brain. I need. Hold on. Let me get my other non-electrolyte drink and drink my coffee. I need more coffee today. Yes, of course, Pet Cemetery. Sorry, I was like, wait, what? No, of course, it's a book.
That's one of the good
Um,
ones though,
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of movie adaptation. So I don't have anything negative to say about it really.
Yeah. No, it's only, I guess it's because what was on my brain is I saw uh a I saw a clip of that I've never seen, and I'm shocked I've never seen it, of Jack Nicholson in his acceptance speech for Best Actor at the Oscars, which he had won for Chinatown, but he was on set filming One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So he did it in character. Look it up. You got to look it up. Listeners, you have to look it up. Hopefully you've read the book and or seen the movie, but I think that's why I asked the question, because I was thinking about that. And it's truly the only that I can think of, the only book I read, and I read it first. I read it in school. And then that I saw the movie, and the movie was equally as good as the book, you know?
See, I've read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I've never seen the movie. I'm
Okay.
ashamed.
When we get done, you are getting that movie
Got
right
it.
now. It's so good. And then after you watch the movie, watch his acceptance speech, because it's like it's the best thing ever.
Got it.
Yeah. You have to watch the movie. Oh my God.
Yeah,
We did an homage to that on our show, but that's for later.
So, just sticking with your childhood, would you say that, anyone in your family, maybe parents or anything, were they artistically, creatively inclined? Is that where your roots come from?
I think so. At least it's in the blood. Well, first let me give credit to my mom and my mom's Sicilian Italian side of the family. My grandmother, my mom's mom, who I was very close with, and my mom, both are now passed, but I'm realizing how funny they actually were. Not that, but they were funny a lot of times when they were mad and or serious. And it's interesting because I think I definitely took that from them, because the only time, at least that my friends and family who know me well, the only time they really laugh is when I'm mad or serious. And then I get madder because I'm like, it's not funny. And they think it's hilarious, whatever I'm saying. So I got that side, but my mom had excellent timing. And we would grow up, she would, again, Italian Sicilian. One of the things I thought about recently is that, like, I was little, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, something, like, where maybe I went to kindergarten, came home for a half day, and then you have the rest of the afternoon, and she would make lunch. And I seem to remember she would do these, like, she'd ask me who I wanted to make lunch for me that day. And she's not an actor at all. Like, she gets very stage fright. Like, it's not her bag at all. But she would do, like, the character names that she came up with was like Luigi, and then he would be in Italian. Oh, I make you a grilled cheese, or then. But I couldn't think of like the other accents she would do. So sure, I think performing was big from that, just inadvertently from my mom's side. But my dad's side, my grandfather was a singer, and played a bunch of instruments, and had kind of some notoriety around town. But I'd say he was a crooner, like big band, and he was like he had more of the northern Italian, because he had hazel eyes, was like 6'2". My dad's like 5'4", so he was like a random tall Italian, super tall Italian guy. That's not true. True Italian, sorry, northern Italians are very tall, but I just mean in the southern Italian, what I am, and in Sicily, we're all kind of little. But he got to open. His claim to fame was he opened. I don't know if it was more than once, but he opened for Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Wow.
Big club at the time in Atlantic City. Atlantic City was like, the East Coast, Vegas, which especially back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that kind of thing was especially the 60s, Rat Pack era. That was a big place to be. So yeah, he got to open for them. he met Frank Sinatra, has a story to tell the tale of like then Sinatra wanted to bring him backstage because he thought he was a great singer and wanted to introduce him to his manager. And then my grandfather's like following him through the kitchens and all these things in Vegas. This was in Vegas. And then apparently he got to this other like back door that had a guy outside because it was Sinatra and his pals inside. And because my grandfather was like kind of lagging behind, Frank went in and the guy wouldn't let my grandpa George in. And he's like, no, I'm following Frank. He's like, yeah, I bet you are, kid. Get the hell out of here. And so we never got to find out what that was. I was like,
no.
I know. And he's like, well, if Frank didn't come out looking for me, it must not have been that big of a deal. I was like, well, I don't know. But yeah, so my dad then was a performer as well. Grew up doing stuff like with my grandpa locally. And I think my dad, like he's always a consummate performer, but he carried on the family business of a haberdasher by trade. Like he sells men's clothing, men's suits. I said men's clothes. Okay, anyway. But yeah, so I think my dad he loves performing, but never pursued it professionally. So yeah, that was a very long-winded answer. You're asking really great questions in ways that it's like really making me nostalgic and think of all these things. That's great. Yeah. So, but sorry, my answers are never short.
It's fine.
Sorry, listeners. They're probably like at this point, just like, oh God, can we turn down her volume? Can we keep Justin's volume up and turn down hers is the question.
An interview without talking would be kind of awkward. So I appreciate you talking.
Should we like take a moment of silence? Look I'm constantly using my hands. So my thing constantly jerks.
So why would
breather?
Okay.
No, I'll be quiet for 5 seconds.
Here we go. Silence. So, when you sticking with your childhood, when you think back to formative films and TV shows that you grew up on personally, what comes to mind?
What I grew up on? I mean, how back are we talking? Like Sesame. I mean, I was a Sesame Street kid, and there was this other kid show at the time called We Sing, and I remember telling my parents that I wanted to be one of those kids. Or like what was that one called? Sharon Lois and Bram, The Elephant Show. It's like Skinnamarink Dinky Dink. I'm sure most people, unless you're an 80s kid, you wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about. But like I was a big at the time, like Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning cartoons kid. And then I have no idea, but I think then it went into like, Today's Special and Elephant Show. That was little. And then like Star Search. But then I would say, and I loved Annie. I know, like, I'm like kind of dorky that way. Like I grew up loving musicals. I still love musicals, performing musicals. I'm kind of that, that side of my dad's family for sure. But then I really started getting into horror stuff, like I think maybe with the Goosebumps series, because that had just come out. And that was the first like series of books I read as a kid. Like I only read 1 or 2 Babysitter's Club. So R.L. Stine was like my jam. So then there was a show on Nickelodeon called Are You Afraid of the Dark? I loved that. And like there was a show called Pete and Pete. Basically anything on Nickelodeon at the time. Sketch show. There was a kids, sketch show called All That because I love,
Of course, yeah.
Thing. And then, so I think I was allowed to start watching SNL at like 12 because I was doing impressions back then, and maybe not all of it. I think they probably taped it and then fast forwarded anything that was above my, allowed whatever 12-year-old brain. But yeah, so I would, I think growing up, anything where if it was musical in any way, like any especially like the classics, like Mary Poppins, Annie, anything like that, I loved. And then I also loved the sketch kind of stuff. And then I also loved horror stuff, for at least at the time, like the kids' horror stuff. And then that kind of carried over for a long time, horror especially.
My wife and I have a very short rotation of shows that we'll watch, and it goes Twilight Zone, Seinfeld, Goosebumps, or Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's really all we watch.
Right. I mean, those are pretty good selections. Yeah, definitely. get it as I, got older when that was on, like, oh my, I mean, I will stop and watch Seinfeld, even on cable anytime. That and My Cousin Vinny, I will watch. I've seen it a million times and know every line. And I will stop and watch that even without all, like I said, on cable where there's no swear words. And it's still like, you love a movie or you love a show when you're watching like the edited, syndicated version.
Yeah. So what was the first movie that you saw in the movie theaters? Was going to the theater a big deal for you?
I mean, it was kind of like the only thing to do in Youngstown, Ohio. That's not true, but like it was one of the things you did, especially as kids. I was trying to think of this recently. I think the first one I must have seen was definitely a Disney movie. I think it might have been The Little Mermaid with my mom. But I think my memory of that was more about how at the end she was crying because she had lost her dad as a kid. So I remember remember that more so, I think, than what I was watching on screen, like, because I didn't want her to cry. But like, yeah, I would say, I mean, that's what we did in especially like middle school and high school, is you went to the movies. Like I got to, like, I loved Adam Sandler, especially at like, because those were coming out back then. Like, I think I saw Happy Gilmore on a date in 7th grade. And I cried when Chubbs died. Like, who cries at Happy Gilmore? Oh, I felt like such a loser, because I was, but I am. But I would say like the movies that I still love, that I got to see in theaters when they came out, were like Mrs. Doubtfire. I love that movie. Like, what was the other? Oh, Forrest Gump. Any of those, like, just classic, timeless, big screen kind of movies. And then when I snuck in, I wasn't old enough yet, but when Blair Witch Project came out.
Ooh, yeah, that's a huge one.
Well, and especially because I believe it must have been, well, yes, before the internet. They had such a brilliant marketing campaign at the time that they basically, I don't remember exactly if they implied or
it was real.
Real, right? So, that was wild, because for the longest time, until I think eventually it came out that it wasn't. But I'm so glad I saw that movie. Like, we definitely snuck into that movie, and I saw that movie without knowing any of it was just brilliant brilliant concept and not real. But I also, like, again, because of my love of horror, and the stories within my family of Italian Catholic. So of course they showed me The Exorcist when I was 12, which blew my mind that Linda Blair was 12 when she made it, and I couldn't wrap my head around it, because she was so good. Anyway, especially with Italians, we believe in that kind of stuff, right? In spirits and in evil and the devil and possessions and stuff like that. So my family, or it's like my mom had stories of like people who she knew or extended family that had to have priests come because they, like, I don't even remember who this was about, but it was like someone she knew was pregnant. They'd moved into a house, her and her husband, first baby, and like all this crazy shit would happen where like the cupboards would be opening and closing, like stuff that at the time, like, my mom wouldn't make that up. So I don't know how much of it was true, what was a rumor, but like apparently they had a priest come, all this stuff, and found out that a pregnant woman or a woman lost her baby in that house. The baby died. So then it was like, oh my God, this house was possessed by this ghost, and they ended up moving. It got so bad. But anyway, like, so that's all the more reason why, like a movie like Blair Witch Project, I totally bought into it, because really, and I still do believe absolutely in ghosts. I've experienced them. I believe in like that, the science behind like energy cannot be created or destroyed. And I think some energy just kind of gets stuck sometimes. So yeah.
Well, we're going to have to go off script now.
That was another 20-minute answer, even after 5 seconds of silence.
No,
Sorry.
no.
Go ahead. What did you say? Sorry about that.
We're going to have to go off script now because listeners will know.
Hey, where is the script? I didn't get the pages.
It's right here.
Okay, wait. We're going to go off script. Listeners, what?
Listeners usually know that I like to wait to the end to ask this, and people loosen up a bit because you can get more out of them.
I told you. Good. Did I see? Yeah. I told you I come in hot. I come in ready. Do you want? You can save it to the end, but maybe you're like, if I wait till the end, it'll be a 2-hour answer. Then we
no.
Time.
It's just that we're already on the subject, so continuity's sake. Have you ever had an experience you would consider supernatural, paranormal, or encountered an event you can't explain?
Yes, multiple. Ouija board was big, especially because apparently, again, it told my mom's side of the family that my Aunt Angie, again, we're all dark-haired Italian, that her first baby was going to have red hair because she was going to have adopt this baby boy, and kept saying red, and she was like, no, it's not. Or I don't even know if they were trying to have a baby or what it was, but it turns out my cousin Ben has bright red hair. So like the Ouija board was a thing. Sorry, didn't need to give that backstory, but so the same girls that I went non-toilet papering with, the starter basketball team friends, we would do a Ouija board at sleepovers, and this one was in my house, which though there were I distinctly remember multiple babysitters up until that point who would be terrified. Because it's like the family room is downstairs and directly above is like my parents' room. And there would be all of these noises upstairs while my brother and I were sitting with the babysitter watching TV. And I know multiple would be like, oh my God, freaking out. And my mom would always tell them, oh, it's just the ghost. And it was like, just because I grew up with that, it was like, oh, there is a ghost in the house. Like it is. But it was apparently friendly, but I don't know. I don't know why she would say that, but my mom really believed it, and I believe it. So anyway, so we're at my house playing Ouija board. And again, my friend Christy is all over this memory as well. She always wore her hair in a ponytail. And we were talking to a ghost whose name was Monday. Still remember this. And I will never forget there were it was only 4 of us starters that were super close. And so it was me, Jen, Christy, and Kirsten. And Christy had her hair in a ponytail. And we're like, can you show us that you're here, or give us a sign, or are you with us? Whatever the question we asked. And Christy's like, oh my God, I have chills on my back. And we watched her, I'm trying not to scream it. We watched her ponytail like flick, like part of her, okay, listeners on the podcast, you know what a flick of a ponytail is. Like, it wasn't like it went straight up, but there's no wind. We're sitting in my in my family room with the lights off, and it went like very, like it was maybe like that, like a quick little, and she's like, oh, and she like, what, like you would swat a fly, like she would swat her neck as we saw that happen, dude. And then, of course, I think then my mom came and yelled at us for not being in bed yet. Oh, what a terrible, lame day at his house. But I also got pushed by a ghost. I definitely know I was pushed by a ghost. I was filming Ash versus Evil Dead in New Zealand, and ironically, callback, but it's true. We were filming the episode. I think it was season 2, episode 7. Episode was called Delusion, I believe, and it's an homage to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So we were in this New Zealand. Actually, we were way outside of Auckland. We were in an actual New Zealand abandoned, like sanitarium, like insane asylum and hospital and all that. And it was so haunted that, like, I guess, I wish I remember the name of it, but it's very famous because a lot of ghost hunters go there, and so much crazy things have happened there. From what I was told by the security guard who basically makes sure people don't go places they're not supposed to go. When of course I wanted to explore with the behind, documentarian there, Clint, and the security guard would not let us go because it was like police tape, and he was like, oh, it's really dangerous because there's all this broken, ceramic and glass and whatever. I'm like, well, let me just take a little peek. And he's like, no, but honestly, we just don't let people back here. I'm like, and so I made a joke. I'm like, why? The ghost's gonna come out and get us over there? And he like was not even kidding. And he's like, strange things have happened that we don't have explanations for. Here's the two things that happened. No, I'm sorry, not just two things. I don't have time to tell you all the stories of everyone else and what was happening to the crew and things like that. Crazy shit that is unexplained. Okay. Like a camera caught the orb of this, the B camera caught the orb of, and the A camera is the main camera. When there was what's her name? Peppy was playing Possessed, and she was screaming, and a nun picture fell off the wall that was bolted to the wall. And that was I think a prop, but it was bolted. It was screwed to the wall. There's no way it would just crash. But she was screaming and possessed. And then as that all happened, they caught this, like, I don't mean a little like light orb. It was like a big white cloud on the B cam. I still have the picture of it. Okay. But I got pushed by a ghost while we were doing the rec room scene, and Bruce Campbell was sitting outside of the room while they were setting up. It was just him in this hallway on a like director's chair, and the bathrooms are the trailer, the bathrooms were in your trailer, so I had to go outside. So I was coming back in, and I'm walking just like a normal person. Nothing is in the hallway. I'm walking to the room and pass him and whatever. And as I pass him, he pushes me down. Well, now I already told you who pushed me down, but so I'm like, what? I completely, like, one of those back, like, double-handed back pushes. And like Bruce messes around and has some fun, but like not like he would never push me. But so I was like, dude, what the? And I'm flat on the ground, and I look back, and he's, I don't know, 10 feet away from me, 12 feet away from me. And he goes, enjoy your trip. And I was like, Bruce, you did not just push me. And he's like, he said, no, but you had a good time on that. What, you have a good time on that trip or something like that. I was like, it's not funny. I'm like, I swear to God, you just, who was it? And there was no one there. And I go, Bruce, you saw that I did not, listen, I fall on a regular basis. I am a klutz, but this was not a trip. This was a push. And I said to him, did you not see me like fly through the air? That was not a stumble. And he goes, yeah, maybe you're right. But who would be able to tell the difference? You fall so much. So I was like, okay, but honestly. So yeah, that I have so many, I could go on about the subject, but there's so many other little, like, I don't know. Like seeing, I don't, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to end a sentence now, full stop, period.
So obviously you said you're a believer, you've experienced some stuff, but how do you compartmentalize it? Do you look at it still like through the Catholic lens? Are you religious, spiritual, anything like that?
Yeah, I kind of do I guess I never really thought of it as like what lens, but I definitely like I really lean into the Catholic lens of it when I feel it as a negative evil entity or energy, which I've experienced in this place now. I will often, I've like gone through and used the holy water. Power of Christ compels you. I swear I have done that because the spirit in this place that I'm in now, this apartment, is a nightmare. I gotta get out. Okay, anyway, that's again. Don't get me started on that because I'm very angry about what this. I really don't have any other explanation than it's an evil spirit, and I've saged and everything. But had a black sludge explosion in my bathroom from the sink. Like that has nothing to do. So it looked like something out of worse than anything we ever did on Evil Dead. That's how crazy it was. From an HVAC pipeline. It doesn't make any sense. And exactly, I think it's just this evil spirit. So I do lean into it when I feel like it's a negative thing, or I guess I should also say when it's a positive spirit thing, like when my mom, like little crazy coincidences with my mom, like or anyone who has passed. Especially it's often said that it's especially with numbers you communicate. And my mom's address growing up was 929. So whenever the clock would say 929, because she had lost her dad and then my grandma. So whenever she would see the clock as 929, she would say, oh, it's 929. And then the day after she died, this is so crazy. Or maybe it was even the day she died. We didn't see it till the day after she died. Giant. I've never seen letters like or headline like this in the Vindicator, which is like the Cleveland, Youngstown, Ohio area, and giant block letters that said 929 people run in race. It was so crazy. We were like, oh, Mom. So in that sense, I lean definitely more into the spiritual Catholic upbringing. Then there are the things where it's like I guess I just don't think of it like that. It's just more of like, oh, it's a ghost. It's a thing, like the Ouija board moment. Like an energy that's not great or bad. It just is, you know what I mean? So I think in those cases, just talk to it, or if I need to, if it's in the space, but I'm very susceptible to a living person's energy. But I'm also very susceptible to just bad vibe, bad energy. And I tend to absorb it, like it affects me greatly. So in some cases where it was kind of a weird feeling, I would just say, I speak it out loud. I'm like, okay, to whatever energy or entity is in the space, like, thank you for letting me have the space. I don't want any issues. I'm here to whatever. Like when I was in Santa Fe filming, there was a very haunted hotel that I found out, and that's why I left that hotel, because I felt that in the room. And I didn't know it was supposed to make an offering. That's like a thing there in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So I could really, really, really feel that. And anyway, I think that, so I kind of have both sides of, but definitely when it's something I want help with, I lean into the Catholic. I lean into that so hard, for sure. When I'm like, just going, like, I want you to picture me going around my place, my apartment, to this, what I can only describe as an evil energy, a dark, that will not leave me alone or the space. And I go around with holy water and just go, the power of Christ compels you. Like, what am I even saying? That's from The Exorcist. I don't even know if that's what I'm saying. But like, oh God. Anyway, it's just like that, like things like that when you're like, but it somehow makes me feel better. Like, but even though it hasn't gone away, probably need to hire a priest to come do it or something. Shaman. I don't know.
So what's up with all these location scouts choosing haunted locations for movie sets?
I mean, I get it. It's it tracks. But I also think it's probably, at least for the New Zealand one, it's probably to save money, because if you first, well, and also especially in like an insane asylum, or I don't even know if that's a proper term for it, but like a hospital like that, if it's a working hospital, you can't. You can do it with people, you can't do that. So you kind of have to find one that has a wing that's out of commission or whatever. So it's obviously easier then to find, not just less money, but it's easier to be able to take it over and put in all the lights and all that stuff. So yeah, I get, and I think the ones that are still standing but shut down always just happen to be haunted, because that's why they're still standing, because then they use it for like tours and ghost hunters and stuff like that. So
So, in the same vein, and you can take this the fictional movie book route or the real world route or both. What scared you
A
when you were
fictional movie route or a real world book route? Go ahead.
What scared you when you were a kid?
Ooh. Uh, two movies, one of which I still refuse to see because that little, however old I was, 5 or 6 year old, didn't just, it's permanent and I will not see it. But that'll be second. First one, we were at my parents' friend's house and they have older kids and they were watching, I believe, the first Ghostbusters. Was that the one? That was the one with Slimer.
I think he was in both.
Okay. Where's Slimer in the library is the image I remember.
I believe that's the first one. I believe.
That's what okay.
Yeah.
Either way, it was, again, the image was burned into my brain of him and he was flying towards this, you're watching, that shot of him with the screen. And but Slimer's good. And I know that now, but as a kid, I did not he was smiling or he was screaming or something. And it was just that with the library. And I, couldn't sleep, but my parents were the kind of parents that's too bad, tough it out, go to bed. So I was trying to sleep at my kitchen table. I remember this. It was a whole thing. And in hindsight, I'm why did my parents just not let me sleep in the bed? But I was so afraid to go to sleep. Or maybe that was this next one. That makes more sense for the next one. This one I've seen since Ghostbusters and love Ghostbusters. And of course, there is no Dana, only Zool. I've heard that my whole life. So I love Ghostbusters too, as well. But to this day have never seen Nightmare on Elm Street because that was also on someone's house TV somehow as a kid. And again, I haven't seen it, but I remember that a guy or a girl is falling asleep in a classroom at a desk. I don't know if is that a scene in the movie? Because that's how my brain remembers.
Yeah.
That's and I don't even remember what happens. I just remember it was whatever. I blocked that out. But to this day, and I've thought about it, and some part of that little Dana is no, which is kind of funny because I was on a horror show and I love horror. So what is won't do it. Last thing I need is more trauma.
I could see that, because Nightmare on Elm Street is a bit different from your typical slasher movie because it takes place in the dream world and we all have dreams and anything can happen. It's not like Jason.
And I think I have enough nightmares as it is. I don't need the concept going in my brain to give me another neuroses of just then it. And I had, of constant negative, or nightmares. Yeah. And I also used to have a recurring nightmare as a kid, and I still have had it rarely now. But so I think nightmares really, the thought of someone invading them and making me scary or killing you, whatever. No, I'll pass on that concept. That's a very good observation though.
And yes, see, because one of the things I was scared of growing up was sleep paralysis. I never had it, but just looking into it scared the shit out of me. The idea that could happen. Right? Yeah. Where you see your nightmares in the room with you and you're half awake, half asleep.
Oh, wait. I thought sleep paralysis is when you can't move your body or your
Well, you can't, but you're having hallucinations at the same time, like a living dream.
That's what it really?
Night terrors.
But you're awake in a way.
Yes, your body is asleep, but your mind is creating the nightmare, and you're seeing it with your eyes as you're awake. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had it. Oh, God, no. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for anyone who experiences that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, yeah, no. So you couldn't see, wait, you said you couldn't see what movie?
No, I'm just saying that the
Oh,
Nightmare on Elm Street affected me that way too because I had always been interested in sleep paralysis because it was just freaky. I was into freaky stuff. I'm like, man, I hope
right.
that never happens to me. And it's just something that scared me. The idea of it.
Yeah, that's what I think you're right. That's why, because it's like, I think that's what that is a common theme of some of the scariest horror films, in my opinion, are the ones that can not can occur, I guess, but like how you said, everyone has dreams, everyone has nightmares. So that makes it more real. But like even with The Exorcist, there are so many cases around the world of people who have what they call, possessions, or Blair Witch Project. Everyone has been in the woods and heard a sound. Like it's the idea of the possibility of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, then again, I guess people get stabbed and die every day, but like maybe not with ski mask, but you know what I'm saying? So I guess that's why they're all pretty scary. But yeah, the nightmares thing. Oof.
And you mentioned the Blair Witch earlier. That was another one. Just that's a definite like you had to be there type of thing because in the modern age of like technology, TikTok and stuff, it wouldn't work. But if you were there at the time and you were like removed from, like I lived in the boonies, so when they had that documentary that came out about it, which was part of the marketing that we didn't know that it was real, and they had like the newscast and this was found.
Oh yeah, I must have seen that. I think I've seen.
Yeah, that was
like,
just it was a big theater experience for a lot of people.
Especially seeing that in the theater. And yeah, you're exactly right. Like nowadays, everyone shoots on their shoots the camera this way, but that was it was revolutionary. And that and another great one was it The Craft? Oh, my friends and I went around because I'm that kind of person where street lights or any lights tend to blink or go off and on around me. Maybe because my energy is so so out there. But we would, I think they did that in the movie, obviously. And we would go around these lampposts in someone's neighborhood, my neighborhood, and try and turn them on and off. And if you stand there long enough, something's going to happen. But we definitely thought we were witches at one point. They're so cool. All these powers. Oh, and sorry, everything you're like, I have retroactive answers for other questions you'd ask me. Another thing I loved as a kid, obsessed, was Alex Mack, which was the show where she got hit by some chemical that spilled, like some bus or whatever, some truck. And then she would be able to like telekinesis, like she'd be able to move objects around, but then she could also like liquefy. So like I was obsessed with trying to move things with my mind. So that's another one. But yeah, I think like you lived in the boonies, I lived in Ohio. I mean, I think you can really be affected by those kinds of films that like take place in a cornfield when you live near cornfields, you live near big open spaces or the woods. And like we spent a lot of time in the woods, where it's a very wooded area where I'm from. So I think it can affect you a little bit more if it's like right in your present day,
Yeah. And just you said, you tried to move things with your mind and like you're really into that. But I remember begging my dad for a magic set, and he finally got it. And I was completely distraught because I was like, wait, I'm not going to be a wizard. Like this is a trick. I know,
doesn't it so disappointing?
They teach you how to do like the rubber pencil thing. Yeah. I was like, this is dumb. I wanted to like shoot fireballs and stuff.
Dude, what did you actually get? Like I got a magic kit.
Yeah.
So, okay, wait. I want to know if it's the same one. I wish I still had it. It's definitely VHS tape that came with the guy. Wait a minute. Did we have the same? No one else is going to care about this but you and I. But I would freak out if you had the same one I did. I think I remember it was a black box with all these little tricks. But one of them was a magic wand that had elastic with the white button, so that you did it and was able to go.
Yep.
And like the yellow and orange cup with the fuzzy ball game.
Yeah, it had a bunch of stuff in it. It was like it was cool.
Yeah. Dude, you had the same thing. I wish I remember what that was. I have to look it up. But like, or the uh it was like a gel in a metal tube, and you would go like this enough, and smoke looking stuff would come out.
Yeah, it's just
Great. I know,
like,
but it was so disappointing, right? Because you're
yeah,
like, wait,
I
these
lost the magic that day. I was just like, I don't like this anymore.
oh, at the day the magic died for you.
Yes.
Oh.
So,
No magic in the world, Justin. Don't give up.
I guess on a lighter note, sticking with your childhood is what kind of records are spinning
Really
around?
going for it with this childhood stuff. I can cancel my therapy appointment this week.
This is the stuff we care about, you know.
I love it.
What what kind of records were spinning around the house when you were growing up?
Probably could just show and tell, but that would not be fun for your listeners. I I guess it's again shocker two-part question or two-part answer, because my parents are big music people, like often had records playing, like actual 45s. They still, because they still have, or my dad, we still have at home, like a Bang& Olufsen with these like wooden Bose speakers. I think they got it as a wedding present in 1970, and it's still like, nothing sounds better than vinyl. But they grew up, were married in 1970. So like the disco era, the dance era was, Saturday Night Fever kind of stuff was very big at the time. So they were that couple that like could just dance really well, like to the point where it just was very normal to watch them do that, like putting on whatever it was, not just the Bee Gees. Like I honestly don't even know. They had their repertoire is quite, huge. But I would also say I grew up a lot with like classic art, R&B, classic soul. Like Marvin Gaye was on all the time. Bill Withers, Sinatra was on all the time. But like, God, I mean, I'm trying to think, because it's like my love the Beatles, of course, as well. Definitely. I just was going through the record collection, and my mom has all, like, she had them more so than my dad had every album as it came out, the originals, which is I just think is cool. I mean, anyway, Sly and the Family Stone, any kind of like really name somebody who was huge in music, from like Chuck Berry, and like anyone who was big from like, I don't even know, 50s to the 90s, especially, is when they were avidly buying records. So they have all that 80s stuff, all that 90s stuff. Insert your favorite artist. They have it. But I would say those are the most, that's what I think of growing up, is more Nat King Cole, that kind of stuff. Or then like the disco, like Tuxedo Junction, I think, or Bee Gees and Earth, Wind and Fire and Temptations. Then when I got to start getting Michael Jackson was huge. So I think some of my first like cassette tapes or CDs was like whatever big song, like Free Willy. I definitely had that cassette because that was a big release at the time. Still love that song.
That's a sad song. I like it, but it's sad.
No, but life's sad sometimes. But then there's magic where you free the whales. It is so, I love it. What else? New Kids on the Block was like a cassette, I think. But then the very first CD, I actually think, I don't know if I bought it or my parents got it my mom got it for me for my birthday, which is funny because she also loved it. Which is really funny when you look at the track list, was like Salt and Pepper. So I loved that kind of stuff, but my mom loved them too. But it's like, let's talk about sex. And we would sing that and be on the radio, but like, it was like, again, you now know after talking to me how strict my parents were. And like, or at least like in terms of, they weren't like strict, like I couldn't go out, but like strict of like, I wasn't going toilet paper, because of it, right? But at the same time, could listen to Janet Jackson Throb, which is a song about sex, and like not no one would think twice about it. It's just really funny. I love TLC. I loved then I got into like my cool grunge because I was like, I want to be different than my parents. So I did like No Doubt. Was into Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say I always kind of stuck to anything that you can really dance to. That to this day, like Snoop, Nelly, all that stuff. Blackstreet, all the things that were hits back in middle school, that because we were mostly listening to the radio. So whatever was always on, I went and would buy the music for it.
So, you said you had a love for musicals and stuff early on. What came first? Was it, acting? Were you a theater kid, or were you just singing, performing, doing music and stuff like that?
Kind of all at the same time because like I said, I grew up like my grandfather and I would like sing together just in the house, whenever we go visit, or my dad, my mom, would teach us songs. But then yeah, I would do, I'm trying to think, like I was in, I think the first like performance on a stage with singing and was like the school program stuff, or probably like preschool, kindergarten, where they put on little shows. But I kind of did it all at the same time. So I was doing it like not in front of people, just in front of family stuff. I was always performing, and putting on shows for my parents when I was like 2 or 3. Cause like I said, I wanted to be one of those kids, on Sesame Street, or, we sang, but then, the first, it was mostly like chorus performances as a kid. And then I think the first like big, quote unquote, big gig I did, where I had to actually, we auditioned in school, but like if you could hit a note and you could sing it, if you were on tune, you usually made it. And I think even the kids that didn't, you still got in it, right?
I was in chorus just to get out of class. I can't sing at all.
Oh, but I bet you learned a little. You could learn a little. You could.
I learned. I Believe I Could Fly.
No, but I mean, oh, I'm gonna make you sing that for me someday. But I mean, you say you can't sing, but you must have like been able to sing in tune by the end of your course.
I learned a little bit about music. I'll just give it that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anybody can be taught. But I do remember a lot of football players in chorus because they too wanted to get out of class, and didn't want to learn an instrument. I feel like I really loved that. I was like, because then it was like, oh, it keeps everything, you get the nerdy singers like me, and then you get all different, kinds of the other cool kids, probably like you, Justin, that just wanted to skip class. So it was a nice blend. But first big gig, the first gig I had to audition or show, I don't know what kind of gig, audition for was, it was this thing called Easy Street Productions. And it was like this group, Easy Street, that they would, I guess they were putting on, shows. They were professional singers, performers, band. And they would do really, really great shows, like shows. I think I saw one of them was like Rock Around the Clock, and they would include all of these. They would I think they would write stuff in between, and it was like, hosted by this guy, Todd, who was doing a like 1950s disc jockey kind of like, and then they would do songs in between. They would like really good put together show. But so then they, for the first year, opened it up to do a Christmas special at this big auditorium, famous auditorium in Youngstown called Stamp Auditorium. And 2,500 seats or something. And they were letting kids be a part of it. So I had to audition, and that was like not everybody gets in. That was, people got cut. You know what I mean? So I was so thrilled to be able to be a part of that. And I got a little solo and got to be one of the, had a couple lines, and so I really loved it. And it was a big stage, especially when you're like 9 or 10. And you're looking out at one of these grandiose theaters. Like to me, that's my love. Like if I could do that every day, like television's great, film is great, but for me, all I ever really love, I just love performing. I
Yeah.
love performing with a live audience. I love that. To me is like nirvana, you know. So but it started very young. Yeah. And then I think our first paying gig, because I wasn't paid, you were just, you know, lucky to be in it if you got in it. My first paying gig, my dad, again, he's kind of a low-key genius. Um he had my brother and I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually, we're actually really good because we got this paying gig that was for adults only. It was at Stetson Steakhouse. So you can imagine the kind of, you know, mafioso place that was. But they started doing, it's like a weekly variety show on Fridays and Saturdays. And my parents saw the ad in the newspaper and it was like for adult only. There was no kids auditioning. But I don't know what, if we had done this for a talent show for like my school, but my dad had transcribed on his typewriter after listening to the record line by line by line, the classic skit, Who's on First by Abbott and Costello. And my brother was like 5 or 6 and I was 9 or 10. And to this, like I was the straight man. I was Abbott because of course the boy who's going to be the younger one is going to be the Costello, the funny man. But we were good enough with it that we got hired. And I think they paid us, I think all in, maybe we might have got like, I think I got a check for like $50 or something. I think they paid us like, you know, we got off cheap for them. But again, like I thought I was like finally had arrived because it's like, whoa, I'm doing this for all adults, not in a school. And anyway, yeah, but that was kind of brilliant on my dad's part because also he's a really good, like my parents were not the kind of parents they're like, you're special no matter what. They were like, get it right. No, they were not like that. But I just mean like they had high standards and you didn't get, you know, you weren't going to get a pat on the back unless you earned that pat on the back. So right. I think that was kind of a good way to grow up because we weren't coddled, but it gave us a lot of tools, you know, as adults to be able to like really want to do well at whatever it is you're doing and, you know, do it right or not at all kind of thing. So, yeah. You know, I give my parents, I think it was tough sometimes, but I think I give them credit because, you know, they were kind of brilliant in their own way that they chosen to like pursue some avenue of this, whether, you know, my mom would have been a great director or casting director, and my dad would have been a great director, actor, any of those things. So yeah. Yeah.
Shout out mom and dad.
Shout out mom and dad.
So yeah. It sounds like stage fright was never an issue for you. Is that true?
No, you know, well, I guess I never called it stage fright. Although, you know, it's so weird, Justin. I'm getting stage fright now.
Really?
Like isn't that weird? I was just talking about it with my dad actually, because to me, because I loved it, those butterflies you get, I think growing up and even through, you know, my teenage years, through the high school musicals and that kind of thing. And then even up until I would even say like last year or two, I never looked at it as negative, like fright. I would say, oh, I have butterflies because I'm nervous.
Yeah.
But it was always a level of excitement with it. But now, I don't know if it's because it's fewer and far between that I'm on a stage, but I just did a live performance at local in LA. It's at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, where it's like they're improvisers, right? And that kind of terrifies me. I'm not one of those people, shockingly, who can just make up things and say them well. I'm terrible at that kind of improv I just am. I know my strengths. I'm someone that want to know my lines. I want to know my performance. I want to know my timing. I like that. That's always been a comfort, but I'm like trying to go outside my comfort zone. So they had asked me to host and like basically tell stories based on an audience suggestion word. And then these brilliant improvisers would improvise random stories that used some of those keywords or whatever I said in the thing. It was brilliant. Anyway, they were brilliant, not me. But I got a little stage. I mean, not a little. I was like, I'm like, oh God, I'm so nervous. But I was more the fright than the excited, probably because that kind of thing scares me. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like I think there's such a joy, like everything, there's such a joy growing up before you really understand consequences or anything negative. Like, I think that's why people have said that child actors can be so good, like brilliant, because they don't have the awareness necessarily of, oh God, this might be the last thing I ever do. If I saw, they're doing it because it's just what they're being told to do, and they're able to get out of their they're not really judging themselves or watching themselves as much, right? And I think it's really interesting that some acting teachers or coaches have said over the years, like, you just got to get back to the element of just playing.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas adults, we ascribe so much pressure, especially if it is your business and your source of income, of like so much pressure on, auditions or booking this or doing well because of the outcome it can have. But it really is just so much better. I've learned all around, if you can just focus on the joy of it and not worry about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just enjoy what it is you're doing. And yeah, but stage fright coming later in life is very interesting for me. Have you developed anything? I also feel like we get scared of different things as we get older. You know what I mean? What about you? Have you found things as you got older that are like, that never used to bother me, but now it bothers me? I mean, I know pet peeves, of course, like anything like that.
None that are coming to mind. Like, I'm not a performer or anything like that, but just
it doesn't have. But I mean, just anything, like maybe spiders didn't bother you as a kid, but now they bother you as an adult, like something like that.
Not off the top of my head. I think this is all humans, but as I get a little bit older, I start thinking about legacy and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's definitely something that comes up a lot in my mind. It just with the podcast, I don't really get nervous speaking to someone, but I freak out about all the external factors. I'm like, oh man, I hope they show up. I hope my lights don't go out. Is my audio okay?
Yes. I totally get that. Because you care about it, right? Mm-hmm. You're passionate about what you're doing and you love doing it, but it's that all the things that can go wrong, probably because at least one of them has happened before.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So it's more about you're holding on to, well, this happened before, so it could happen again. And this happened before, and this could happen again. So then your brain is like, oh, I hope none of those things happen,
mm-hmm.
And, but I have learned in all those self-help books I'm reading that there really is, they've now discovered the quantum physics behind it and that thoughts have energy. And that the more you stress about it and think about it happening and how much you don't want it to happen, it actually weirdly affects I forget what the word is, the plane or the field event, the energy field in quantum physics. I think it's called the energy field. And it apparently makes it more likely to happen. So it's when you have to, I'm trying to learn, when you should try it too, of like, nah, it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's all going to work out. If it's delayed, it's delayed. We're going to have a good, all that matters is that we're going to have a good talk,
Yeah. And
but I'm the same way.
Something that comes up, like while we're on the subject of legacy and stuff, and just expressing creativity beyond, of course, you're an actor, you get paid, you want to make a living, but I write short stories and stuff, and I've sold to some small magazines, but my concern is not being the next Stephen King. It's about, I want to do this, I enjoy it, and when I'm gone one day, if my kid's like, I wonder what my dad was into, or what was my dad thinking at this one time, they could read those words, and it's a little cool. It's like a little, I'm there for a second,
Man, Justin, I'm going to get a little emotional. I love that. Mm-hmm. And I think that is why, congratulations, by the way, but that is why you are selling it to mm-hmm. publications, because at the end of the day, again, another thing I'm saying this for myself as much as for everyone, but when you do things because you just love doing them and you want to do them for you, the value that comes out of that will always be more than any sort of result. So like when I meet people or people ask me about how to get into the acting business for say, or any of that, for say, I mean, now, God, my brain is shutting down from talking too much. When people want to get into it, but they say it in a way of like, something like, this is not exactly it, but like they'll say something like, well, how do I get to be a famous actor? And see, the difference is I never wanted to be famous. I actually wanted the opposite. And I don't think I am. Luckily, I'm not really. Like I can go and live a normal life. No one, I get recognized on a rare occasion, especially like, I mean, if I'm at a convention, that's one thing. But what I tell them is you can't do it for that reason. You can't do it with this, especially anything artistic. You can't want to be a photographer, and want 1 million followers on Instagram. You can't write a story and want it to be you can want it to be a best-selling book, but that cannot be your reason why you're doing it. You have to do it because you just love it. And you have to ask, and that's how I know if you really want it. That's how you can ask yourself, how you can know if you really want to do something is like, am I willing to do this without any money, without any benefit, without any of the things I hope it gets to? Am I willing to do this and without any of that, just for me? And if the answer is yes, do it. And it has a funny way of things working out with it, or bringing you to another thing. But I think that's why, Justin, I think that's really wonderful. And I'm in awe of you because I've also always written, but I have not yet taken the time to like do the thing I want, like write the book I want to write, or even, look into it. Cause it's a discipline, right? But it's also, it kind of scares me a little bit because I'm like, no, I'm probably not even good. Instead of just doing what you're doing, and what you're doing is I commend you because it's really much harder than people think. And just to even, you know what I mean? Just to even
get out of your own head, first of all.
You what?
Just to get out of your own head and actually sit down in the seat and think it's not stupid and do it.
And do it more than just like a week. It's real easy to be like, but then you're doing it and you're sticking to it, and then you're finishing it, which I think, regardless of anything else, that is the win. Like I say this to anyone who's written a book. If you've just written a book, I don't care if no one ever reads it. You wrote a book. That's a big deal. And in your short stories, like, I think you said they were short stories.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
That's what I think. And so, but then that's what I'm saying, because it's coming from such a place of passion and love, and just you're doing it for you and maybe for your kids, but it has to be for you first, right?
Right.
That is why I have no doubt in my mind. That is also why all of these other good things are coming out of it. Like, whether it's another burgeoning idea, or the fact that you got published, like or people buying your stuff, or like people seeing it, wanting to read it, wanting more, like finding an audience, like that only happens because of this. And because you're like, I'm doing this for me. So bravo.
Right. And I take the same approach to the podcast. I only talk to people I really want to talk to. I don't really want to do promos. Like if I'm not interested in your work or anything like that, I'm just like, we're not,
As it should, yes, and as it should, but like that is great. That is so authentic. Oh God, I'm authentic to a fault, I've been told. And I love when I meet other people who are authentic in through and through. Like, because you probably, and again, not faulting anybody. I get it. But like people, that goes into that sellout term of like, well, if you really want to make the bucks, then you will do these promos and you will have this sponsorship and you will do that. And Totally get it. And
Yeah.
I probably would, if especially now, because I'm not working at the moment. So like, but the fact that like that can come eventually, and maybe you could do another podcast, but the fact that you are just doing this for the sake of it's what you enjoy. If you do something passionately and well because you enjoy it, other people who enjoy it too will follow. That's the same line. So I commend you because it's so easy nowadays. I would think everyone has a podcast,
Right.
and it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm gonna really monetize this, but no, you're not doing it for that. That's why I love it.
Yeah, I really
And
do
that's why
not
you're
care.
so good. And that's
Thank
why
you.
you're so good. And that's why you ask such great questions. I even said that at the beginning. Like I've done a lot of interviews in my lifetime, and you're excellent. And I think it's because it's coming from that place.
Thank
No
you.
wonder I like you so much.
So
So speaking of, when are we gonna do our new podcast called Authenticity, Nightmares, and Ghosts?
there we go.
Rolls off the
I'll write that one down. There we go. So I'll get crucified if we don't at least bring up Ash versus Evil Dead. I guess we got to bring it up at some
I
point.
mean, I brought it up.
With your background in comedy, and it is Ash versus Evil Dead is horror, but Evil Dead is campy. Did that make you more comfortable
Sorry, say that one more time.
with your?
Sorry, my dad dislocated his finger, so he was sending a text. I was like, oh no, he's fine, he's totally fine. But he's been texting. I was like, oh God, I hope he's okay. Okay, he's fine.
Good.
Sorry. Take two. You had said that Evil Dead is horror and Ash versus Evil Dead is more campy.
No. I mean, in general, Evil Dead, the franchise, is campy horror. It's not just with your background in comedy. Did that make you more comfortable?
Sure. Well, because also Army of Darkness, the third movie in the Evil Dead franchise, the originals, is pretty much straight up comedy. Like that was the one I saw first in high school. Like my friends had rented it. I didn't think I didn't like it. I didn't get it. But then I saw Bubba Hotep in college, and I was like, oh, it's that guy from that Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell. And then I went back and watched it in college. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So funny. So the first two are straight up, I think more. I know that the second one is more like got a little of the comedy, got a lot of the camp, but then still has a lot of the horror. So it's like the first one is straight up horror, second one, a little bit of more of the camp, a little comedy. And then third one, I think is just mostly comedy. So I loved it. Because my dad, because of that, Who's on First, I told you we did, in order for my brother and I to kind of get a concept, because again, this is before YouTube, of who they were and what their timing was and what it was like. The only thing you could visually see were the movies that Abbott and Costello did, which, if people don't know, they're great. They're classics. And so there was it was all horror comedy. So it was Abbott and Costello meet Dracula, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and the Mummy. And so he had rented all of those for us. So I saw that as like a 10-year-old, and that kind of stayed with me. So I really feel like Ash versus Evil Dead was a dream job for me, because I got to do all the things that make me happy, or that I would just be happy to do one of them in any booking, let alone be able to do all of them, from the horror stuff. And because I'd seen The Exorcist at 12, and which is the same age I said that Linda Blair was, and Italian Catholic, I've always wanted to play possessed. I always just wanted to see. I knew I could never come close to what she did, but like from 12 years old on, I was just like, oh man, I want to try that. And I always just as an homage to her. So I got to do that on the show. The comedy, of course, because that's really mostly what I had been getting cast as, in co-stars and whatnot, and TV and stuff like that. And comedy, I do feel like is more of my stronger suit than drama, because it's more of a performance. Like I told you, I love performing, and comedy is more broad. And then you get the stunts and the action and all of it. All of it. Yeah. And you know, again, it's bringing me back to what I loved as a kid, like the horror, the goosebumps, the campiness, are you afraid of the darkness? You know, it's silly, but it's scary, but it's funny, and it's over the top gory. Like, it really, there's not a day that goes by that, there really isn't. There has not been a day that goes by that I have not given thanks or been grateful for that chance, because that was pretty much a dream come true after so many rejections. I won't even tell you that, but the story of how it got there and then being able to do it. And oh my God. And since you've set it up, this is great. Again, it's going to cancel therapy for the whole month. I also, again, Sesame Street kid, love puppets. And I got to puppeteer, basically. I had to learn on the day for any time it was on my hand. And I got to fight a little ashy slashy mini Bruce Campbell puppet. Come on. It was like, that's why I was like, this is like everything I ever wanted. The only thing it didn't have, if there was one thing that I've always was music, like musical, you know, I think we were hoping for that, because it was supposed to go for 5 seasons, that because Lucy Lawless is a Broadway singer. She's on Broadway. Bruce Campbell can sing. Ray Santiago played Pablo can sing. I can sing. So it was like, come on, let's do come on.
That would have been great.
I think it was going to get to that point if it was made it to season 4 or 5. I think we were close to convincing Rob Tappert, but also Rob Tappert, to his credit, he was really great with the music supervising, as well, because every song was specifically obviously chosen, as they always are, but in the credits to apply to that episode. And they were really great choice. Just the whole music and all of it was great. But yeah, so who knows? Maybe someday I know there is an Evil Dead musical though.
Yeah.
But I can't. I think it's more. It's high. I can't sing as high. I'm more of an alto. But I got to go out, and I was asked at the one in San Jose to go and basically soak the people with blood with a super soaker gun in the splash zone. So that was super fun. Getting to be a part of that. So I guess then in that sense, even though that was after the show aired, I think that was still, I got to check all the boxes. Yeah.
Some of my favorite episodes of my favorite TV shows growing up were the musical episodes. I don't know if were you a big Buffy fan growing up?
I don't know why that was not on my radar. Maybe it was on when I was at all my practices, sports stuff, but because we get compared to Buffy a lot. There was a lot of things from that. And I feel like that's one of those shows that's on my list of I need to go back and watch Buffy now. But no, I've seen some episodes and I know enough about it for sure. But so that was a big one for you.
Yeah, and Buffy has one of the most iconic episodes is the musical episode, because there's a spell cast over the town and everyone's singing in song. It's great.
Yes, I have seen that, because that's what I think Ray had showed me that on set one day, because we were like, we need to do a musical episode, because he definitely showed me. I definitely saw that up for sure. I love it. Yeah, they are great. And I feel you couldn't do a musical episode of Severance, or I think that might not track. Actually you probably could, but I feel the nature of the genre of Ash vs. Evil Dead, absolutely it would have worked.
Right. And Dana, I'm not going to keep you all afternoon, I promise, but I do have to mention,
I'm the one keeping you with my long ass answers. Your listeners are like, all right, my drive has been over for 40 minutes. I'm at work. Goodbye. Or 2 after dinner. After work. And then after dinner, because I just keep talking. So, no, please.
Man Cow's Morning Madhouse.
Yes.
How did that come about? What was that like for you?
Oh, How do I tell that short? I was performing in a show in Chicago while I was finishing, I think, my senior year of college there. It's called Tony and Tina's Wedding. I'm sure people have heard of it. They've had them all over. It's like a dinner theater experience, but where you go to the wedding of Tony and Tina, and if you're the audience, and then it's basically like you're attending a wedding, and then the show happens around you and with you. It's interactive. So I was doing that, and one of my castmates, I was doing that, and then right. I was doing that this end of senior year, summer. Okay. Then I had gotten a real job in my degree, which was I was marketing coordinator, House of Blues. But I was miserable behind this desk. Like, I love House of Blues, love my bosses. I was just miserable being behind a desk. So and then I had to basically quit the show because it was the hours, whatever. So the one of the actors from that show booked actors on the Man Cow show, which was a nationally syndicated radio program, like a morning zoo kind of radio that would have a special guest. It's not on anymore, so I feel like I can say this. I didn't sign an NDA. Maybe I did. I don't know. But like, it was that actors would come on and be the fake guest that had to sound real to get people to call in and give advice. It was like the call, like the person, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, an actor would be there. Oh, well, my girlfriend cheated on me, and now I want to know if I caught them, should I go, I don't know, set fire to the house. I don't know. Just whatever it was always really controversial as an actor, but you had to be able to improvise when the host and be on your feet. Whatever the host asked you, you had to improvise. And then callers would talk to you, whatever. Okay. So he booked me as that. And it just so happened, I think I did that a couple times just because it was just on the phone. And then they just so happened to be looking for, Man Cow happened to be looking for a on-air female sidekick. So then my audition was literally going to the radio station at 5 a.m. and the show was from 5:30 to 10 a.m. But I had to be at House of Blues, which was just across the river, at 9:30 a.m. So there, for my auditions, like, it was kind of grueling. I would wake up at 3 a.m, go to Man Cow, audition, which was just being on the air. That was my audition. I knew nothing. I didn't know. I mean, I knew the show, but like, I didn't know what to do. And like, basically they said, just laugh as much as you can and try and say something every 30 seconds, except when he's doing his thing. But he was like kind of a conductor, like a maestro conducting an orchestra. So he would have like hand signals. So you're trying to know when to talk, when to laugh. But then he was really kind of something to see. Really great training to get thrown into the deep end. And then I think I did that like a handful of times while I was still working House of Blues. And then I got the job and became an on-air personality. Marissa Sanchez is the name he gave me. Then I was like, and I was a producer for that show. So I then was booking other guests. And that was great. That was a great training ground in so many ways for all of it, because it was more of a performance than just like talk radio, you know what I mean? Because we would always do kind of like bits and had really great celebrities coming in, but I really credit William Shatner. Here, I'll end. If we're gonna end, I got two little bookends for you. Here's what I credit Willie, two things about that show and where it ended up going in my life, which is kind of interesting. I love these kind of synchronicities, right? My very first audition day, again, had no idea what I was doing, and it was William Shatner's birthday, and the host, Man Cow, was obsessed with William Shatner. And so I again knew nothing going into this. So he had like a whole, as you do on morning radio, had a whole like sound bite clip of like a song that they had written called It's William Shatner Day. It's William Shatner Day. And he was playing that all the way leading up to the primetime hour, which was like 9 o'clock or something, where William Shatner was going to be a phoner on the phone. And so again, I'm just focused on like trying to do well at this. And we're live, like it was live. So anytime I said something stupid or was like stumbled over you can't hit the undo button. So anyway, William Shatner, who this guy Mancow was obsessed with, had said at some point, I think it was pretty early on, like he brings him on and he says, but Mancow, I must, what did he say? He's like, Mancow, before we begin, I think he said, before we begin, I need to know, who is that woman with that magnificent voice? And Mancow's response was like, oh, she's just the flavor of the week. Don't worry about her. But I think that landed with him because he's obsessed with William Shatner. And I think that's why I got that job. I think that is at least why I kept getting asked back, because I feel like if William Shatner said that about this girl auditioning, that like just the voice, well then, okay, at least she's pleasant to listen to. Don't have that voice anymore. I'm sure it was very, I don't know, maybe it was pleasant then. I don't know. But thank you, William Shatner. I have not gotten to meet him yet, but in person, but I hope to tell him that someday. And then the last thing I'll say, never dawned on me. It never dawned on me. The show intro to Mancow every single day. And I was on that show for years, every single weekday. Started with, it was you guys know what I'm saying. It's an intro, it's a thing, right? So sound bites and music. And started with, all right, listen, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick. And then it would go boom, pop, pop, boom, pop. And it would be this music. And it was like, Mancow. This is the screwheads. It was Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams in my ear every single day to start the show for the better half of 2.5 years, I think at least. And talk about the power of like, I don't know, that's where I'm just like, man, maybe this whole law of attraction or of persuasion, have a mantra, think positive thoughts. I don't know, dude. But like, when that dawned on me years later, like I think it was season 1 of the show. And they were talking about it, just like, and I'd heard that I had seen, the movie since then, whatever, but isn't that wild?
That's mind blowing. So we've been on this subject. We've been talking about kind of paranormal things, and you're bringing up the law of attraction. So I have a mind blowing synchronicity that happened to me this week that I haven't told listeners or anything. So I'm going to share it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to try to condense it. But it was
no, don't condense it. This is your show. and then I'll let you go after that.
It kept me up when it happened. It kept me up pretty late. So long story short. The way I write, I love pulp fiction, like Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft, stuff like that. So I'm getting down, trying to write a new story, got a new character, and I decide on the name, Nathaniel Bowen, and he was born in the 18th century. As a nod to Lovecraft, I set it in like Providence, Rhode Island, and Boston, and stuff like that. Anyway, I write the story, sell the story. After I sell the story, I'm like, oh man, I should probably Google this dude before I continue with this series, to make sure no one else has this character name. That's what's going through my head.
Right.
I Google Nathaniel Bowen. By the way, he was a priest, so so I Google Nathaniel Bowen, born in Providence, Rhode Island. He's a real guy. Wikipedia comes up. Born in Providence, Rhode Island, 18th century, priest. His first job was in Boston, moved to South Carolina, where I live. And his adversary's name was Thomas, and what was stamped on his grave was it was a passage from the Bible that Jesus spoke to Thomas. So literally that is stamped on his grave. So I'm already freaking out. I told my friend David about this, and I'm like, we got to go to the library to check this shit out. Just find something on this guy. I pick first book I pick up off the shelf, History of the Episcopal Church in South Carolina, dedicated to Nathaniel Bowen. Okay, so I'm already, I'm freaking out. And now this was several years ago. So years later, my friend Joshua Cutchin, he's been on the show a couple times. He's a very famous paranormal researcher, writes books like this thick, very detailed oriented guy. He wrote this book recently called Fourth Wall Phantoms. Which is basically a historical account of artists, painters, and writers encountering their creations in the real world. So that's what drew me to it, because I'm like, man, this Bowen stuff's freaking me the fuck out. So I read it. I'm starting to read it. And one of the first things he mentions is the quote-unquote fake version of the Necronomicon that was written in the 70s.
Okay, yeah.
And that day I had interviewed Betsy Baker, and I have that book, and I had started reading it again, and I had it next to my bed while I was reading this. So I was like, oh God, here we go. And I have a tattoo of a character called John Constantine on my arm. He was made by Alan Moore, and who's a famous comic writer. And I was like, the reason I got the book, because there's a famous story about Alan Moore actually meeting John Constantine after he created him. So I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if Josh knows about this. So I bought the book. I'm reading it. Right after the Necronomicon thing, he mentions that. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. So I messaged him on Facebook the next morning. I'm up all night like pacing. And I tell him this whole Nathaniel Bowen story, all the stuff with the Necronomicon and stuff. And he finally gets back to me and he goes, that's wild as shit, but I got another one for you. And he said, my air conditioner tech or something along those lines just showed up, and his name is Bowen.
Okay, that I'm so happy you shared that, but also that is synchronicity, capital S. You've already sold it?
Yeah, the stories.
Okay, I just feel like that it usually when it's that much of a synchronicity, maybe I shouldn't say it, but how I interpret it is like you're supposed to do something else with it.
I hadn't written that character in years, and I was like trying to write again. I'm like, oh, he's like reaching out from the grave, literally.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. If you can add, that's what I'm trying. That's exactly how I would say it, because it's really like a neon sign being like, let's get back to this character. There's more to tell.
Yeah, mind blown.
Dude, I love that. Synchronicity is the best. You're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing at exactly this time as well. That's what it means. Like in general.
Yeah, that's how I take it. Yeah.
That's what synchronicity is. They're believed to be. It was like, it's the, universe's way of wherever, excuse me, of saying like, either telling you like a message, really drawing attention to it, or just also being like, you're exactly where you are and what you're meant to be doing, and keep doing what you're doing and follow your intuition. So I think Nathaniel Bowen, or Nathan Bowen, or
Nathaniel. Google him after this, it'll blow your mind.
Nathaniel Bowen needs some more pages.
I do too. Well, Dana, just to put a bow on this thing here, is there anything on the horizon? Anything you can share and want to share? No NDAs?
Well, I guess I don't know when. How about, because I don't know whenever this airs. So how about I say I'm doing a bunch of appearances in conventions, Comic-Cons, not the Comic-Cons, but the convention appearances. So you can follow me I am Dana DeLorenzo on Instagram, and then I think it's Dana DeLorenzo Instagram. Dana DeLorenzo official on Facebook. But I have like a link tree, and I usually update it on there, or just my socials. So hopefully, if I'm in a town near you guys, anyone who's a fan and wants to geek out and talk more about ghosts and whatnot, or anything really, musicals, I don't care, I'm open. Clearly, I don't have an issue talking, so I will talk your ear off if you come to see me. Just know that in advance. It's usually the fans pulling away from me to be like, all right, it was so nice meeting you, but I gotta go now. Bye. It's like that. Leave it to me. That's when you talk to me. But so yeah, I would say follow my socials, keep up with where we're gonna be. Bruce, Ray, and I are having a rare appearance together. Like it just all worked out. And it so happens that this year, 2025, is the 10-year anniversary of Ash vs. Evil Dead. It premiered.
Jesus.
I know. Crazy, right? It feels like 5 years, not even. But it premiered Halloween 2015. So we're going to all be together in May at, oh my God,
Texas Frightmare.
Thank you. I'm like, it's fright, text, brain shutting down, too many words. That's a little song I do sometimes, brain shutting down. And this is like apparently my robot. Okay, we're going to stop with all the idiosyncrasies at the end. Anyway, so we're all going to be together at Texas Frightmare. I think it's somewhere around May 23rd. Check it out. And then, we have I have a bunch more coming up. And then I just shot an indie film I'm really excited about. At this point, the title is called In Spite of Ourselves. I shot at the end of last year, and it's based on a true story, and it's with stand-up comics. And I'm really proud of it. It was really great people. I don't know when it's coming out, where it's going to be, but so I guess I'll just put the title out there, and if it doesn't change, maybe you'll hear it down the road, and maybe it's out by then. In Spite of Ourselves, it's a wonderful, wonderful movie.
Awesome. Well, Dana, I've had a great time chatting with you. Thank you for giving me some of your time.
Oh, and you know what? You should send me a bill because you basically were my therapist. We covered a lot of childhood ground today, and I thank you. It was like really. It was not the bad kind. It's not like healing any trauma. It's like healing from like just good memories. So, Justin, you were great. I thank you for sharing your stories and especially your synchronicity story. And I can't wait to see where you take Nathaniel Bowen next.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your day. Once I get this edited and pretty, I'll tag you on Instagram or something.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Thanks so much, Justin. I really enjoyed it. I'll talk to you anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.
Anytime you want me back, I'll be back.
Awesome. Cool. You have a great day, Dana.
Much love. All right. Bye.